Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Neil, John, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning.
Yes.
Very good. Can you talk amongst yourselves for a second? I've got a lighting malfunction. I've got to turn them off manually.
Yes, Neil. We'll talk about ourselves.
Yeah, so, yeah, John, go up an octave or so.
Come on, John.
I'm in.
That's just fine. Hey, 10th
So-
man, can I ask you a question
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I want to make sure I'm correctly on the stance of the definition. The Coriolis effects, the non-inertial reference frame would be observed from the ground, correctly? If there was indeed one.
Yeah, that's the inertial is when you leave the Earth. Non-inertial is when you're on the Earth.
Right. Okay, I got it. I figured so. Okay, thank you.
That used to confuse me because the Earth's supposed to be spinning.
Right.
Well, just
yeah,
think-
no.
Because of the wording, it's inertial, and then they're saying, well, if you're not left the Earth, it's the non-inertial. It's not
Right.
you leaving the Earth. It's a backwards way of saying it.
Not exactly.
Right.
Not exactly. The effect that you're going to be observing and describing, which is the Coriolis force, is something that is apparent, something that you are seeing. Now, to describe the effect accurately, that effect that isn't actually happening, but you're going to be describing it as apparent as you seeing it. So to have it described accurately, you've got to be on a non-inertial reference frame, because you and the reference frame are turning as one, without you being aware of that, to induce the effect that you see. The effect being the apparent deviation. So to describe that apparent deviation, you can only have it described from a reference frame that's non-inertial. i.e. you and the reference frame together are as one. Yeah? So you're not detailing the motion of the platform that's actually moving. You're detailing the seeming curved motion of whatever you're observing in the inertial reference frame. Why? Because you're going to be describing an inertial effect, the Coriolis effect of it curving. So to have that effect of it curving, when really it travels straight, you've got to be describing it from your non-inertial reference frame, just looking at something in the sky and going, wow, doesn't it look like it's drifting? Yeah? For you to have the mate sat next to you going, no, it's us on the roundabout that's actually moving. That's why it looks like it's curving away. It's really us turning beneath. Oh, yeah, I forgot I was turning. I thought I was non-inertial. Well, for the description of the curve you're describing, you are non-inertial. You're part of the reference frame that's moving to induce the effect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. That's why I use the merry-go-round and a drone to explain it. But a lot of Globers like to just hand wave and dismiss it. Oh, that doesn't explain it. Oh, because the Earth is the atmosphere is in lockstep and all that. Yeah. So I'm just trying to.
Yeah, but then
clear it
there's
up.
no drift.
Yeah, it does. And if you have a man that's outside of the non-inertial reference, watching the man on the merry-go-round going in circles, he throws out a ball straight out. It has a parabolic flight. He sees different than the others. They just like to hand wave it. Period.
Sure. Coriolis is only observable from the non-inertial reference frame.
Yes.
So you can only see this effect if you're turning beneath stuff. So you must be turning beneath to have this effect. That's Coriolis drift, Coriolis effect, the Coriolis force, whatever you want to call it, Coriolis deviation. They're all the same thing. To have that effect, you must turn beneath stuff. Ergo,
Right.
if we don't see the effect, we are not turning beneath stuff. Now, the globe claim is we see the effect. How do we see the effect again, boys and girls? We'd be turning beneath stuff. Yeah? So we point out stuff that we blatantly are not turning beneath, despite the claim that we are. And then we get into anti-flat earth rhetoric about how the earth moves with the atmosphere, to get around the fact that we're not seeing the claimed globe effect of drift. Say it with me, only observable as you turn beneath stuff. So, the way you catch them out is you ask them to detail the effect from a roundabout, which is how the effect is easily detailed. You are watching a hot air balloon from a roundabout. It appears to come towards you and then move away, and then come towards you and then move out away completely. Why? Well, because you're on a bloody roundabout. So it comes into your field of view when it's in the sky, and then as you turn away from it, it goes out of your field of view. Now, is the motion of the hot air balloon actually coming towards you at a rapid pace and then disappearing into the corner of your view and then out of your view completely? Of course not. It just looks that way because you're turning beneath it. So we get our fundamentalist globe-believing zealot defender of the spin that we should see to accept that if we're turning beneath a hot air balloon, we'd see it drift, just like I've described. We all in agreement? We're on a roundabout. We're turning beneath it. We see the Coriolis drift. It's fairly simple. Well, if we've got Coriolis effect on Earth, the exact same thing happens. You look at the hot air balloon, and it seems to drift as you turn beneath it. Well, does that happen? No. Doesn't happen at all. Well, say it with me, kids. That's because we're not turning beneath it. But we claim to be. We claim to be on a turning Earth, turning beneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour. And the effect of that is Coriolis. We just don't see Coriolis drift. Nothing's drifting away. We're not turning beneath anything.
Yeah, because
I was
everything that leaves
correct.
the earth,
I
you see it drift, right?
Well, merry-go-rounds, they have a measurable radius. Is there a non-inertial reference frame without a measurable radius?
No, you've got to have a measurable radius value to give all the rotational values.
So everything that leaves the earth, you would see an apparent drift if we were spinning, and we don't. End the story. Coriolis effect is an optical illusion.
Yeah, and for anybody new to this arena, back in 2015, where most of us didn't fully appreciate what Coriolis effect was and how it related to a claim that Earth spins, we had people that would tell us that hurricanes were caused by Coriolis effect. Now, Coriolis can't afford you a spin, an actual spin, in a hurricane, because it's a not actual deflection, observed, say it with me, as you turn beneath stuff. So turning beneath wind doesn't give you an actual hurricane spin direction. The claim is you're turning beneath it. But when you don't understand Coriolis, you'll argue all day with somebody that's telling you, oh yeah, Coriolis causes different directions of spin in hurricanes in the north and south hemisphere, I'm assuming, when I travel antipodal when I go south. So that's what you have to contend with. Now, when someone pulls it apart in a very concise way, like Brian Mullen, and explains that you should be turning beneath stuff that would cause all sorts of havoc if you were trying to land a plane, you'll have people that say you need your job threatening, if you're a surveyor, on account of the fact that you don't understand how Earth and atmosphere move together and conserve momentum. Completely contrary to the actual claim that Earth turns beneath stuff. That's Coriolis effect. But that's what you need to do when it's really obvious we don't have this effect. Having somebody just point it out in a real simplistic way, we don't have Coriolis drift, well, that's not going to go down very well.
Earth is flat, your hot mic in.
So that's any evidence of axial rotation. Was there an objection to this originally? Somebody said, why are we even asking about, was it the pendulum? Forget which thing brought us into this dragged out version of Coriolis drift debunking.
No, I brought up, I
think
heard.
Well, I appreciate it, Nathan. I knew I was accurate on my description and everything. Just Glovers like to just hand wave and dismiss and do circular reasoning all the time. So I appreciate the feedback.
If you need a citation, go to Wiki, and on the right-hand side, there's a GIF with two vantage points. One from the spinning reference frame that shows a ball curving when thrown straight. The other from the inertial, watching it go straight. So you've got both versions, and it's got two sentences underneath saying that as you observe the ball from the non-inertial spinning reference frame, it appears to drift. As you observe the ball from the inertial reference frame, it travels straight. Really simple.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It is really simple. I just figured I was correct on it. It's just they like to try to get to you.
Did you want to add anything else, 10th?
No, I was just responding to him when he brought up the Foucault pendulum, and say if they bring it up, then obviously they're saying that the Earth is turning under the pendulum. So if it's turning under the pendulum, then it must be turning under everything else. But then when they say, well, it only turns under certain things like footballs and pendulums, but not airplanes and drones and hot air balloons, they destroy their own argument there.
Yeah, the effect
They don't like to say the word under.
Yeah, no, they don't, because it means that you'd see the effect, and we don't, and they want to argue about how we don't see this effect that the globe claims we have. That's 15 degrees an hour drift as Earth turns beneath stuff to cause not actual deflection known as Coriolis. We don't see that effect, so they don't want us to highlight that Earth is claimed to turn beneath stuff to see drift. As you turn with it and look at stuff in the air, not attached, drifting away, when actually travelling straight. It's like, oh, okay, well, we definitely notice that on the equator, in quotes, this imaginary line where you claim it's the outside edge of this sphere, and it'd have the vast rim velocity of 1,000 miles an hour. So you launch your drone, and bloody hell, it's gone away 1,000 miles an hour. That was quick. And your mate next to you nudges you, like on the roundabout example I gave earlier. Says, nah, drones can't fly at 1,000 miles an hour. It's just us turning beneath it on the Earth that spins. That's why it's buggered off at 1,000 miles an hour. Obviously, it's just hovering wherever it was before we started turning away from it 1,000 miles an hour. Said nobody ever. You don't launch a drone on the equator and find that it's got 15 degrees an hour drift, which would translate to 1,000 miles an hour. It's never going to happen. It's never going to be observed. But they still want to claim it under bullets, under footballs, under gyros, under pendulums. They want to claim Earth turns beneath because it's an old claim that's been really screwed up when flights went up. Things that are in the air for vast periods of time really screwed up the claim that Earth's spinning.
Yeah, the jig is up.
We'd definitely notice.
Yep. You're low, Paul.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you whispering because you don't want to wake the kids up?
No. I'm just trying to talk. I'll try to speak up louder. With a mechanical gyroscope, you should be able to set your heading, not deviate, fly north, and if you set your airspeed correctly, you should be able to fly north and end up where you started. If Coriolis effect is real, I'm waiting for a pilot to do that.
It can't be done because there is no Earth turn underneath aeroplanes. If there was, a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would take about an hour and a half because Earth would be turning underneath it. When in reality, that flight takes about 4.5 hours. So, no, Earth definitely not turning underneath aeroplanes.
No, I agree with you. That's what Brian Mullins, if you remember, he actually talked about that, flying north. I know what you're saying, but I mean, this is the way they're going to see. They're not going to argue. The Glover won't argue in that what you're saying. I'm actually arguing it the way they would argue it. And that's why Brian Mullins tried to break down. If you fly north, you should be able to fly at a certain speed and end up where you started and never change your heading on the whatever you call it, the gyroscope.
Yeah,
Well, he doesn't understand conservation of momentum.
Yeah, exactly. Took the words out of my mouth. They want to argue about something that isn't Coriolis. It's like, where did you ever hear? The globe claims that when you leave the Earth that turns, you will conserve the momentum of the Earth that turns, and there'll be no effect to observe. You won't notice anything. You're like, all right, how does that prove we're spinning again, other than you assuming that we are when we notice nothing? And they go, well, I've told you 15 degrees an hour of spin that I'm assuming. Yeah, but if there's no effect to observe in this rhetoric that is not globe rhetoric, conservation of momentum? No, the claim that's supposed to prove we spin is Coriolis drift. Due reference frame, you observing things drift away from your vantage point as you turn beneath them. What do you mean, conserving momentum? Nobody has ever come to me from a globe-believing perspective and said, hey, I can prove Earth spins, jump up and down. Okay, I did. Jump up and down, right. I jumped up and down. Did you notice how nothing at all happened? I did, yeah. I just jumped up in the air and landed on the same spot. Well, that proves that Earth is moving at 1,000 miles an hour because we're on the equator, and you travelled with it as it turned. Therefore, you saw nothing. Great proof, huh? It's called conservation of momentum. I've just proved that when you jumped up and down and noticed absolutely nothing happen other than you jumping up and down, that proves that Earth and atmosphere all travelled as one in violation of the first law of thermodynamics, and we've got 1,000 miles an hour in velocity on the edge of a sphere Earth. Great proofs here. And you go, no, that doesn't seem like anything anybody on a sphere would ever claim. You're showing me nothing and making up a great big story that's really difficult to understand and believe. That I'm conserving 1,000 miles an hour of movement when I jump, and I don't notice a sodding thing? Well, okay, that's not really a great proof, see, because you're not showing me anything happen. But meanwhile, I've just read this entry that says that Globe claims that the football drifted through a goal because the Earth turned beneath it, and that snipers have got to track their targets because Earth's going to turn beneath them. But wouldn't that mean that I jumped up and down and the Earth turned beneath me too? Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? That would be a thing that I'd notice to prove I'm spinning. You know, if I drifted away from you when I jumped up and down at whatever rate the Earth's claimed to turn beneath me, it says in this here textbook that that's what they do as snipers. They have to worry about Earth turning beneath their bullets. So I'd have to worry about it turning beneath me, not just not notice a damn thing and talk about how I'm conserving an energy that's not proving anything. You know, that's the kind of convoluted gaggle screw of nonsense you have to address if you're dealing with an anti-flat earther who tells you that conservation of momentum, i.e. nothing to see here, proves we spin.
Well, if you can just beg the question of an axis with them, that's really all they want you to do.
Yeah, but when you bring up the continent coming towards them, they tell you, well, that's just silly. And I say, yeah, it is silly because it don't happen. We're not spinning.
Well, you could rebut it without just telling them straight out what they're doing wrong with the doublethink and ask, so if you're not deviating because everything moves in lockstep, then how does that lockstep situation cause hurricanes? I know that's a fallacious question, but
yeah,
in their logic.
That's addressing what is partially now globe rhetoric, but it is within 5 paragraphs of doublespeak on Wiki, where they'll tell you that it's a not actual effect, an illusion, I think is the word they use, only to then detail how this illusion causes things. You know, it's obviously contradictory.
Yeah, the definitions will confuse the heck out of you.
Yeah, and what did the
But
calculate?
based on their train of thinking, if nothing is deviating, then how is that supposed to be causing actual physical deviation then? Reason that out. Ask them to reason that out.
You can spot it because the doublespeak. Like if someone asked any member of the panel here, do you think the Earth is spinning? We'd have one answer, no. If you say that to a baller, they'd say yes, and then their doublespeak would say, but we can't ever spot it or measure it or prove it. So we would just say one thing. We would be very quick to the answer, where they have to say the globe rhetoric, and then when it comes to proving it, they're actually saying what we're saying. Well, we can never see it. We can't prove it. It's marked with an X, but you can't see the geometric horizon. But we know it's there because we know we live on a globe.
I think I can explain it.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's Coriolis effect, also known as Coriolis force. But there's another name that it's known by. Not very many people know it. It's called drift function. It's acting, or it appears to be drifting. It's functioning like a drift, but it's not a drift. No, I'm not saying that right. Sorry.
No, you
I'm
did. You did say that
distracted. I'm
right.
driving the board.
No, that's correct. You just, instead of functions like, appears to drift, looks like it drifts, but doesn't. That's correct.
Right. But on a level of the non-inertial reference frame, when it's as big as the Earth, it turns out there's a magical phenomenon known as drift function collapse. So when a knower is around to see the drift function collapse happens, and it's happening, or it's drifting, but you cannot see it drift.
I see.
That's ridiculous.
Stole my
Or,
word.
alternatively, if detailed by a certain individual, you could say, no, there is no drift. But you can think of it as though there's drift.
Shout out to George Musa. Good morning, guys.
Good
They
morning,
stole my
Chocolate.
function.
Arwin, you have a basis for a lawsuit there because you came up with that.
Yeah, wave function collapse.
Yes, I want royalties now. Nah, just kidding.
I don't think
But it's
if
good
it's no,
that
no,
they
there's no
Owen
lawsuit.
doesn't know
If it's
about
a variation, you know, we've got obviously curve function collapse, and now we've got drift function collapse. You know, that's not actionable. You know, be here or be sphere for ball busters. By the way, shout out to Globe Busters.
Yeah, but you can think it's actionable.
But curve and drift is really the primary drivers of the model, so it's very close. It's obviously inspired, you know. They haven't been
Inspired.
hearing a lot about function collapses recently.
Yeah, there's a good legal word, eh? Inspired by, yeah, indeed, not ripped off or stolen. Inspired by. Well put, Arwin.
I think the ballers
Right, so
just
donate to my PayPal, please.
I think the ballers just identify with drift.
Okay, but with the jokes aside, we don't experience it. The reason we've got this very amusing, detailed explanation of how the drift function will collapse if you try and view it, that is to say, we don't see this drift. 15 degrees an hour drift is what Earth's supposed to show you as you turn beneath stuff. The only way you can see this effect is to turn beneath stuff. And we don't see that. So we're not turning beneath stuff. Well, they claim we are. That's what they claim proves we spin. So if we're not, we're not. We're not spinning. We don't see things drift. Simple.
Nathan, you said jokes aside. That's what they actually believe.
Well, I guess I'll have to update Baldwin's rhetoric now. So it's a drift function collapse, I guess.
When I first came into the
I'm
debate,
actually shocked Baldwin didn't know about it.
Yeah, that guy's got that trademark, Darwin.
when I first came to the debate, that was always the claim that Earth is so big that you can't experience these things that say happen, which is a joke to me.
Kind of like, the elephant is so enormous, you just can't see it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Coriolis effect is something I'm glad we're discussing more and more in a light-hearted way without constant stream of ad hominem interruption and threats to your job, because you haven't accepted that we don't see any effect, nothing to see here, conserving momentum, no drift, you won't notice anything, because we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and so is the air in violation of first law of thermodynamics. Obviously, of his job. And now it's concise.
You know it's drifting because you don't see it drift.
Yeah, not you know you're moving 1,000 miles an hour with absolutely no effect to show for it, because I assume I'm moving 1,000 miles an hour and I don't see anything to actually demonstrate that effect. That is definitely not the globe claim. Globe claim 15 degrees an hour drift as we turn beneath stuff to see it drift. It just doesn't happen. We don't turn beneath hot air balloons. And when people say, oh, all right, your argument that the continent would come to you is ludicrous. Really? So let's just pretend for a moment I've got a drone and a kid's roundabout. And on the one side of the drone, I put England. And on the other side of the on the roundabout, I put down a map of England. I just sellotape it to the roundabout. And on the opposite side, I sellotape a map of Japan. And then I stick my drone on the map of England, spin the roundabout, and launch the drone. What do you think is going to happen? Well, with the drone hovering above the roundabout, the other map with Japan on it will come to the drone without it having to do a damn thing. It just hover. And the roundabout rotates underneath and serves up Japan while it hovers on the roundabout. Now let's move that back over to an Earth that spins. Same effect is going to happen. It's the same effect they're claiming. Coriolis deviation, observable from the ground. So, we launch our drone from the ground and watch it drift away. Just hovering, don't press the sticks anymore, just let it hover. And 1,000 miles an hour it'll drift away at and land in a different country. As the roundabout, that would be a claimed Earth that's spinning beneath it, serves up a different country underneath it. Well, that doesn't happen now, does it? What's that you say, globe-believing now anti-flat Earth zealot? That's ludicrous. No, that just doesn't happen.
Now, that's very easy.
Answer.
Hold on. That's very easy for anybody to understand. So if you can't understand that, I mean, you're an anti-flat earther. That's correct.
Okay. Well, I got a rebuttal to that.
There are two things that should happen if the Earth was what they say it was. If we get off this ball, well, the ball should continue to rotate underneath us, and the things in the sky, which we are told appear to rotate above us, because we're on this ball that we're rotating on, those things should stop rotating or moving. None of those things happen.
There's one problem, though. I bet it's going to be said in general.
Rotating.
No. We can't go up high enough to experience the deviation.
No, you can't say that. Nathan broke it down as easy as you can. Yeah, but
I just did.
Nathan put it as easy as ABC. That has to be happening the same way it would happen on a roundabout. You just take that on the Earth now, so that continent should come to you. Plain and simple, but it does not happen.
Yeah, but that roundabout doesn't have outer space vacuum right next to it. So it's,
how high did that football go? I don't think it was that high. Yet somebody was able to do a quick calculation and tell you just how much it went into the field goal because the Earth rotated underneath it. How high was that again?
The football couldn't get up high enough, but Neil definitely got high enough to think that there was Coriolis deviation. So,
right.
But there's definitely an axis, right? Measurable axis.
Sure, not.
But we can't measure it.
No, the results are marked with an X, but we can't ever have seen it to put the X where the X is supposed to be, I guess.
That's all right. The new thing is that the black swan, the horizon is a mirage. That's the new claim now.
that contradicts the definition of mirage.
Well, then how did they ever get the radius if the horizon is a mirage?
They calculated it.
So they didn't measure it.
No. Why would you?
Well, but they told us we can't see it.
Yeah, things are falling
The
apart.
one they're supposed to have, we can't see. The one, you know, that the same one that blocks boats and buildings and stuff in the distance. We can't see that.
So the physical thing that's supposed
we can
to
see a
block
deep angle, but we
physical
cannot see it.
objects- The chocolate, the physical thing that's supposed to block physical objects can't be seen.
Nope. According to them, the same people that think it actually exists, and the same people that define it as something that's visible. So apparently, it's the non-visible visible demarcation where the land meets the sky. I mean, we can go with that because the definitions of words are meaningless.
Well, you can see the horizon. It's not geometric, but you can still think that it can block things behind it, and that's why things disappear in it.
You know, most of the time when they talk about a celestial sphere and they're talking about degrees, they're using a set value of the horizon to measure with. You can't refract that. That makes it a rubber ruler.
It also makes it non-physical. A sphere edge would be a sphere edge, be a physical limitation to your view, not a refracted limitation to your view, not a refracted blockage that you're going to qualify with feet and inches, because that's not going to give you a value to give you axial rotation. With radians, you're going to need that R value to claim any of this horse crap.
Calculated.
So the proof of their R value has always been the bottom of boats and buildings disappearing. And when that doesn't happen to the geometric limitations of their R, they say, well, we've never seen that place that does that, but it must, because I live on a globe.
You can't visually measure the geometric horizon. Okay, it doesn't work. Can only
It's like the guy who chanted, the earth is not flat, after Nathan destroyed every argument he had. Yeah, but the earth is not flat. Destroyed that argument. But the earth is not flat. They just want their globe. Like a kid, when you take away the binky, cries and cries and cries.
But it's a really nice model. I don't want you to mess it up.
But what's astonishing to me is when the glober realizes he's been lied to, he doesn't care.
It's all about the journey. It's all about experiencing the globe, right? And if reality gets in the way of that experience, you just ignore it and continue the road to experience the globe for as long as you can.
Well, I don't like being lied to, do you?
Well, we all get lied to.
Yeah, but do you like it?
Sometimes.
That's a lie.
Oh, really? Well, well, it's not a lie. A lot of times when you get lied to, you really like it. It's when you find out it's a lie that's the big bummer.
We call that kiss up. You like hearing your name. You like people extolling your virtues, whether they're real or not. Then you find out that the guy was just saying that to rob you.
Yeah, but at the time it was really nice.
Okay,
My mom told me I was handsome. It broke my heart when I found out it wasn't true.
All right. Yeah. I'm just being nitpicky here. That's all. And basically describing the globe religion. That's what it is. That's what it is like.
Well, that was an invitation from me to someone in chat to come on the show who's a baller and tell us why they don't mind being lied to.
I'm right here.
Take a break, Baldwin.
Look, that guy from yesterday who was extremely nice. Glitch effect. Glitch effect? Yeah, glitch
Hello.
effect. Just start 10th.
What's that?
Whatever you wanted to make an example with, just go ahead.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were setting up for me. I'm just looking for someone now I'm not looking at chat to see if anyone's there. Is someone in Discord? Is there a baller chatting away? I want to challenge him to come on so we can have a real conversation. We'll point out maybe 2 or 3 things that destroy their globe and prove it to them right now and see if they like being lied to and stay with the lie, or will they realize, hey, I've been lied to. I'm gonna jettison this globe belief. Is there anybody like that?
I mean,
The debate's effectively over.
Hold
I
on,
don't
John.
think they want
Hold
to come
on,
here.
John. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm kind of a baller, but after yesterday, I'm kind of on the fence, and I'm still going to have a conversation with you.
Oh, great. So Can you speak louder? Or is this, I can barely hear him.
Yeah, sorry, I was sitting a bit far from my mic.
Oh,
I
very
hope this
good.
helps.
Very good. What name do you go by?
Cooper's fine.
Say that slower.
Cooper?
Koopa?
Yeah, like in Mario.
I don't know that. Okay,
Yeah,
Koopa.
kinda.
All right. So, what makes you believe the Earth is has a circumference and it's spinning?
Well, it was always what I was just told, and it's just the usual thing. I just always believed that the flat Earth never really made sense, sort of thing.
Okay. Before we go to flat Earth, the question was, and you answered it. What makes you believe we have a circumference and we're rotating? And you said it was what you've always been told, correct?
Yeah, it's sort of just been a thing. We've always been told this is true, and then
Okay.
it's never really
When you were a
seemed to be
kid,
not true.
when you were a kid growing up like me, and they told you Santa Claus was true, but later you found out it was just a story. What did you do about that? Do you still believe Santa Claus is true?
No.
Okay, so if we kind of prove to you now through conversation and your own logic that the globe story is similar to the Santa Claus story, are you willing to, on the basis of the facts that we don't have a circumference and we're not spinning, realize that that's a falsehood, so we can't be living on the ball? Would you be honest enough
Yeah,
to
if
do
you
that?
can. Yeah, if you can show me something or prove it to me that Earth's flat, I'll happily just switch like that.
Well, before we go to the shape of the Earth, if it's flat or not, let's discuss what we're told it is, which is a ball.
Well,
of
let's
a
just give him it because
circumference
it's
of almost
20 seconds out of my day. So go to Google Earth, draw out what's called an elevation profile. It shows the elevation of the land, and you can do it however many thousand miles you like. It's all flat. There's no drop at all. Same goes for ordnance surveys, maps. It's all measured flat, demonstrated flat, and you can show it with measurements as flat. There you go. Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah. So again, before we go to the shape of the Earth and what the Earth is, from our perspective, because obviously, observably, it's motionless and it's flat. Now it's got valleys and mountains, but when you go into sea level and you see the water, mean sea level, but water's at rest, it's horizontal, flat, straight, whatever you want to call it. So before we go to what the Earth is, you were told it was a sphere with a radius of 3959. Is that right? Because that's what I was told.
Yeah, that's what I was always told.
Okay, so if you have a sphere with a radius of 3959 and you use the math that goes with that, it says that at a 1 foot observer height, the curvature horizon, well, let me ask you that. Do you think the horizon is the beginning of Earth curvature?
Yeah.
Okay, so that horizon that you just agreed to is the beginning of Earth curve at a 1 foot observer height could be no more than 1.22 miles times the observer's height. So when we can show you an image that horizon is beyond 10 miles, doesn't that destroy the geometry of a radius?
Yeah, I suppose that would if the maths were correct.
Well, the maths are correct because it's the globe maths. It's their math. It's not our math. We're not saying the Earth is a sphere with a radius. They are. And then we say, well, what's the radius? And then they say 3959. So they're the ones giving us the math. Would you at least agree we're not giving them the numbers? They're giving us their numbers for a globe.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Okay, so if you saw a picture that showed that the horizon was beyond its geometric limitation, wouldn't that be enough proof that Santa Claus isn't real?
Yeah, I think that would be.
All right. Someone got it, or should I post it? Someone talk to him. Will I post it?
I just posted it for him.
Okay.
It's in the
Do
chat.
you see it?
Glitch.
Uh,
Someone give him a link to the video of BLMSB too, because it's good to see it.
Oh, that's fucking weird. How the hell?
Bingo.
All right, so back to our discussion. If you were told Santa Claus was real and later found out it was just a story to give you goosebumps, and then you say, hey, I was told the globe model was real and this is the radius, but as I'm growing up, people actually believe this is real, but then there's evidence that we're not turning, which it would have to be having rotation, that we don't have a radius that matches the curvature, and I never see curvature. I've never seen it from an airplane. I've been as high as 40,000 feet. Then wouldn't you agree that all the math doesn't prove the Earth has curvature?
Yeah. There's people in chat saying the argument forgets to take refraction into account.
Okay, let's go there. Let's go there. What is refraction?
Hold on. Are you going to make that argument? You're saying someone in chat. You realise that regardless of who you cite, it becomes your argument now. Do you understand the argument before you postulate it? Because if you don't, this isn't going to end well.
I was
That's
just
why
going to
I'm
ask
asking.
about what refraction is and how it would come into play here. I wasn't going to make the case for it.
Perfect. Do you want to ask?
What is refraction?
What is I'm asking you, what is refraction?
No, he's asking us. That's okay. I'll just answer you. The refraction so handily given to you by anti-flat earthers is called terrestrial refraction, atmospheric refraction, the refraction that a globe has, and that is based on R, in standard form, 7/6 of a radius. Now, given that you've just had a lengthy explanation about how radius is acquired by tangent point horizons that aren't there anymore if they're refracted, you can't measure R to apply it to a refracted value, and your refraction has R in it. 7/6 of the radius. That's terrestrial refraction. So if you want to thank the people who told you in chat, thank them and say, where did you get the R for your refraction from, helpful fundy globe believer? Because we've debunked the R that they apply with their refraction. So what's refraction? Your refraction for a globe is based on R, and we've debunked R. You can't measure it anymore to apply it as a refracted value to move the very horizon that you need to measure it to get it. Do you understand?
Yeah, no, I understand.
No, we haven't taken refraction into consideration. We're asking about the geometry, the physicality.
Yeah, the claim of refraction invalidates the claimed measurements.
You can't measure an R value from a refracted horizon. So when they say we're not taking refraction into consideration, well, okay. But by doing so, it means that you're not drawing a straight line to a tangent point. Do you understand how to acquire a tangent, or what a tangent is?
No, I do not.
Straight line. It meets a circle. And the point it meets the circle is a tangent point. So a straight line to a tangent point is how the geometry of a sphere Earth works. That tangent point is the horizon. And to be a tangent point, it must have a straight line to it. For this geometry to function, it requires a tangent. That's a straight line. Now, your friends in chat, your helpful chat friends that aren't here, they've done it via you, yeah? They've told you that the horizon's actually non-physical and refracted when it needs to be physical to measure it with a straight line to it. They're saying that straight line, needed to do geometries, actually a bent line. Well, by saying they're not taking into account the fact that the line to the horizon's bent, that means the line to the horizon's not a tangent, and you can't do your geometry anymore.
And the atmosphere is begging the question.
May as well go over that as well. Atmo means air, sphere is a fundamentalist religious presupposition of Earth's shape. Air sphere, no. Air takes the shape of its container. It's not sphere-shaped. But for atmosphere to be asserted, it's because you're going to have light bending through sphere-shaped air. Atmosphere. Terrestrial refraction. 7/6 of a radius, and you can't measure a radius anymore.
But they'll start claiming that there's other ways to calculate radius, right?
May I continue?
That's what I've heard.
Yes, you may. Sorry, 10th.
Okay, so right now I want to take a pause. And Koopa, right? Am I saying that right, Koopa?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay, let's invite those people in chat right now who know the argument for refraction, who think we're wrong about the explanation that Nathan just gave. I want you to personally invite them to come on the show now and debate on the behalf of the globe. And if they don't show up, we know why. Go ahead.
You
Invite them.
don't have to do that. Look, that's not your responsibility. You took ownership of that argument and have conceded it upon explanation from us. That's good enough for me. You don't have to drag the people in. You didn't blame them. You conceded. Good. No issue. You don't have to drag them in. Well, that's 10th man's demanding.
All right, I'm just setting a precedent here, though, Nathan, because they love to do this in chat when someone like Koopa has good questions, and we're answering them very succinctly, and then they come in and they throw lies in chat because their refraction is based on R, because it's 7/6 terrestrial refraction. It's not normal refraction, making people think that people who believe in the flat Earth don't believe there's natural refraction going on. We just don't believe it's based on the 7/6 R terrestrial refraction because you got to have R to begin with.
Sure, it's a valuable lesson, though, isn't it? Don't believe everything that you read.
Correct. All right, so Koopa, where are we at so far about Earth curvature and R? Where are you at before we continue?
Yeah, no. What you just said was pretty convincing. I'm probably actually going to switch over to being a flat earther.
Well done. Now let's go to the other one. Do you feel motion and spin and rotation while you stand on this Earth?
Hold on, come
No, I
again.
do
Did you
not.
say I'm considering switching to a flat earther?
He did.
Whatever the hell you said. Yeah, I'm pretty much starting to believe in the flat earth, yeah.
Do your own research, look into it, and you'll come up with the right conclusions.
Well, it's the first time I got to say this without an air of disdain in my voice. Welcome to flat Earth. The Earth is obviously, observably, navigatably, and measurably flat. You've been deceived. Good that you've coped with it in a way that isn't freaking out or descending into permanent ad homs interruptions. Good for you. It's not, however, a group. It's just your own personal understanding of the nature of the world you're in. It's just that. So my only advice would be it's easy to relinquish one model, one man's model of what the world is, and just find a replacement. Far better to just think, wow, so I don't know what X, Y, and Z actually is then. Maybe I'll be the one to find out.
So Koopa, we got that. You're on a good start. Let's talk about Earth motion. Is that something you also are going to throw out because you don't feel the Earth rotating?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
All right, well, let's take it from yes to no. All right. So if the Earth was rotating...
Hold on. Solar, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to make sure that Glitch understood Nathan's point about not swapping one model for the next and just simply believing for the sake of believing. Did that make sense to you, Glitch?
Yeah, no, that made total sense to me.
Because you must test everything, even what's said in this room, you must go and test. And when you test and you see it is true, then that's how you start to form that discernment. Sorry, 10th.
Yeah, I will let you get back to it, 10th. Shout out to Sasha or Unitox Femi, really appreciate the support. Says, tell him about gas pressure. We did yesterday, but 10th's right in the middle of a point. Thank you very much for the super chat, though, Sasha. And, you know, do whatever you like is my advice, as much as you're saying do your own research. Well, do what you think. Try not to abide by other men's models. And in this instance, you've got Flat Earth Solar saying, this is my model, test all things. Immediately after. I appreciate the sentiment though, Solar. I know what you were driving at. I am nitpicking, but, you know, 10th, go ahead.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Even the scriptures tell us to test all things, hold on to that which is true. So absolutely do your own research. But you're within a good group here because we even argue amongst ourselves over the little differential in what we're saying. So
What are you talking
Really?
about? No, we don't.
Shut up.
shut up, Neil. And so anyway, my point is this. You realize there's no physical geometric horizon. You realize the Al-Biruni story doesn't make sense. And Al-Biruni at the time, when he measured the dip angle, didn't even know about refraction. So that put aside, let's move on to Earth rotation. So they're saying the Earth is spinning. You and I both agreed that we don't feel this motion. And so if there is no spin to the Earth, that argument goes out the window. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you know there's no spin to the Earth when the ball claim is that the Earth is spinning? If you left the Earth that's spinning under you, should the Earth still spin if you left the Earth? Is that a good, solid question?
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
All right. Now, if I told you something was spinning, but it wasn't, and you said, prove to me it's spinning, I say, I can't. Why would you even believe the initial reference that it was spinning? You following what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm following what you're saying.
Yeah, so they're telling us it's round, it's got an R, we just proved it doesn't. They're telling us it's round, it's got an R, and it's spinning, and it's not. So 0 for 2 for the ballers, the ones in chat that will never come here, but want to poison your mind with obfuscation techniques.
Well, just before we move on, so the order of events is this guy's come in, asked a few questions. We've given him reasonable answers, hopefully. Follow-ups as well. And then he's had some rebuttals fed to him by chat skanks. And as a result, he's then converted to flat Earth. Thanks, chat skanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. So,
You've been
Koopa, what do you
helpful.
know? Koopa, what do you know about angles? How to achieve an angle?
Not a lot.
All right. Well, takes two straight lines, forms a corner, point, also known as a vertex. And you know what a right angle looks like?
Yeah, I know what a right angle looks like.
Yeah, well, a 45-degree angle.
Is that rhetorical?
That's halfway down the right angle.
Yes, I know what that angle looks like.
Okay. I just want you to envision, it takes straight lines, does it not?
Yeah, it would take some straight lines.
Okay, can you ever achieve an angle with a curved line?
Not to my knowledge.
Very good answer. So you know how a sextant works?
No.
Okay, it's a navigational device that measures degrees of two objects, like the horizon would be one, and a sun, a moon, a star, one of the 64 navigational stars would be the other. And the horizon acts as your baseline, one solid 180 line, no curve. And the other one is you're aiming it through the telescope on the sextant to the sun, let's say, and say it's at 45 degrees in relationship to the horizon. You follow?
I think I'm following, yeah.
Okay, well, that can only work on a flat Earth. So when we look at the horizon through a sextant, that's flat. Has to be flat in order to get an angle. Now, what they've done with that tool is, if you go to any sextant videos or navigational videos, they draw a tangent on the globe. And that's when the sextant works, when they draw that tangent. But yet, visually, they're showing you a globe, which you cannot work on a curved surface. Do you see the deception there?
Yeah.
So even the sextant, which works, proves that it could only work on a flat plane. So you've got a tool of navigation that validates the black swan. No radius, no geometric horizon, no startup curve. That validates the black swan with an astronavigational tool.
Just going to shout out a quick super chat. So Ask Dad Anything says, chat skank is my new favourite term. Thanks, Nathan. It's not mine. I got it from QE. I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, but I'm going to thank QE for that one. But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
So look up a circle of equal altitude and just watch the videos and it'll blow your mind. And my last thing I'll share with you, because I want to give others a chance, and it's almost the end of the show, is how do you think the sunlight is seen on Earth by people? Is it parallel rays or light, or is it diverging? Koopa?
Did anybody understand what he just said?
No, I didn't hear what he said. I asked you a question about
Someone
how
was
you
hot
see the
micing.
sunlight.
It was just somebody with their mic open. I took someone off mute and they were hot micing.
Koopa, how do you
I'm
see
sorry,
with
can you
your
ask your
own
question
eyes?
again?
Yeah, how do you see with your own eyes the sunlight? Is it diverging? Does it come in at angles, or is it parallel?
I've seen it come in at angles and I've seen it come in straight. Like,
Yeah, when you're right under it, it's straight. And if you look from side to side, it's got angles, right?
yeah, sure.
Okay. That destroys the globe model because they say the sun is 93 million miles away and the sunlight must come in parallel for their model to work with the sextant because they take it from the center of the Earth and they need a corresponding angle at the surface that's curved. So when you see sunlight coming in at angles, that destroys the globe model because the sun is much closer. That's why we have diverging rays. Do a little research there as well and really strengthen your new position.
He's taking it really well.
Well, he's a normie. He's a normie who's got good questions, and he's not belligerent. He's not vile. He's a good guy.
Luke Cleary from the super chat says, an 8-inch drop is always an elevation change. Yeah, and I did hint for, obviously we're directing it at this glitch guy, but it's for the audience's benefit as much as anybody else. Check it out. You know, go and do an elevation profile on Google Earth or get an Ordnance Survey map and check it for yourself. It's all flat. There's no drop. There's no 8 inches per mile curved. It's all measured flat. And they're using it professionally to build things. So what are they doing? Well, they're building on it flat. And that's how you survey it. Now, you'll have some fundies tell you that, no, we've got geodetic surveyors that will actually presuppose the Earth's a sphere, draw out a, quote, tangent plane, and then measure it flat. But they've assumed a globe first, so that's all good. It doesn't change the fact that what you're actually building on and measuring and navigating and observing is flat. That's what the world we experience is, and that's how we deal with it, how we fly on it, how we cope with it on a day-to-day basis. Don't experience, measure, or see any drop. There's no curve, and the horizon is not Earth curve. So it's the end of the line for the globe assertion. There's nowhere to go from here. Earth is obviously and observably flat. Anybody got anything they wanted to round out with specifically?
Just on that super chat, that 8 inches per mile drop is meant to come from the tangent line from where the observer starts the observation. And the actual curvature is not meant to be elevation drop. They say the curve of the Earth is equidistant from the center, and then it just holds that spherical radius.
Any more for any more? There's been quite a few people that have put their 2 pennyworth into the show, so I'm not going to round out immediately. I just want anybody else who's got anything they wanted to add, summaries, before I do. that, and I've got to turn my
you
lights
say
on
8
manually,
inches
so
per
I'm
mile?
hoping someone will fill this dead air.
Yeah. Did you say 8 inches per mile squared? That what'd you say? Can you repeat that?
I just said that the
Go on.
ballers used to argue with us that the drop is from a tangent. So where you take your observer and you place him on the top of the ball, then you're meant to draw your tangent line out. And then the 8 inches of drop comes from that tangent line down towards where it meets the circumference of that circle. But the actual circumference of the circle is meant to be equidistant from the center. So the super chat was saying every 8 inch per mile squared drop should be elevation change, but it's actually, in their model, it's not. That curvature is equidistant from the center. That's why in their mind it is a level plane or that level baseline, because it's all equidistant from center. But that 8 inch per mile drop is just from that tangent, that top straight line down to the circumference.
Indeed. And for the guy, just as that was such a good summary, thank you for that. Who was that? I had my Skype over the top of it. Who was talking?
Solar.
Solar, thank you. Excellent summary. But as detailed.
Yeah, thank you.
As detailed, a tangent's going to be required, right? So they're telling you, well, this line that we draw is based on this tangent, straight line. But the chat skanks were telling you that that line is bent. They're telling you that that line is no longer the geometric requirement of a straight line anymore, or it's bent, it's refracted line. That was what the chat skanks fed that glitch guy. Oh no, they're not taking into account refraction. No, we're talking about a line to the tangent point. And when we point out things like 8 inches per mile squared, they'll come back with this at, no, it's measured with tangency. Oh right, so the straight line that's now bent then? Yeah, that's a bad news thing, isn't it? Because according to you, your own line's not straight anymore. That's going to be a massive problem if you're going to try and assert that we should assume a physical obstruction at a tangent point with a straight line to it. Because what do you know? It's being bent now. Yeah, refraction. Yeah, that destroys the geometry. That will be the last word, though. So if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supply to Octopus Energy, link in the info box below this video. Another massive thank you to all of you who sent me PayPal, so thank you very much indeed. I got considerably more than I was hoping for. I was covering a short deficit that was caused by a balls up, and when you're on a tight budget, a small deficit can be a big problem, but I definitely exceeded what I was hoping to get. So you know exactly who you are. I've sent you all emails. Thank you very much indeed for your support via PayPal. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!